So here we are, day of surgery. Excited. Finally getting these done after numbers of years. 52% nervous, 98% confident. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, excited for today and bring along the journey and show you the recovery. So here we go, guys. Let's go. Here we are, December 2nd, surgery day. Take one last look. Because after today, she's gone. Nothing here. That will be gone. Excited for it to get moved. Not have to worry about seeing it ever again. And here we go. We'll go through the recovery together. We'll see you after. Here we go. Today's the day, surgery day. We're going for it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture any live footage of the actual procedure itself, given I was laying back on the table and I didn't have somebody else there to film, which would have been nice, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So I was waiting for the doctor to come into the surgery room, where basically as soon as they arrived, they had 3, I would say 10 mil syringes full of the local anesthetic, which was injected into the lower areola of my nipple, kind of where they were going to make the incision. They used all 3 of the 10 mil syringes. They also added I believe it was a saline solution into the actual chest, which kind of expanded the area. And honestly, it looked really gross. When I started to look down, it looked very, very strange, given it was only on one side. It made me very uncomfortable. So I did my best to keep my eyes closed so I wasn't looking down and seeing that, because I didn't have any type of covering or anything. Once I started the procedure, I found myself looking down, which made me very uncomfortable. So I just kind of laid back and asked them to put a cloth over my eyes. That way I didn't have a tendency to look. While the numbing was kicking in, the doctor just started talking to me about sports and hockey and kind of keeping my mind preoccupied with things as the anesthetic started to settle in. And once it had settled in, they started pretty much the procedure right away. So they made a small half-moon incision on the lower part of my areola, just to kind of go in basically where the skin tone changes, so it's not super noticeable. So what they ended up doing was making that incision, flipping my nipple half back up, and which is where the gland was attached to, and that's when they started to cut out the actual gland itself. Now, I couldn't feel anything at this point, but the doctor told me I would be able to feel pressure, under pressure, almost like a poking and prodding when they were pulling and cutting away the gland itself, which I definitely was able to feel the pressure, but honestly, it just felt like someone literally poking you. It didn't feel any pain whatsoever, which was great. And the actual procedure itself, I believe, took somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 8 minutes. It was so quick. Basically, we were having a conversation, and like I said, I could feel a bit of the poking and pressuring that he had mentioned previously. Next thing you know, we're talking away, and he's like, yep, we're suturing you up right now. And I'm not sure how many stitches they ended up putting in there. I think there was 5 to 7. Yeah, after the quick suture, it was basically over and done with before I even knew what was going on. That's so crazy. One of the things that the surgeon was surprised at was just the actual size of the gland itself. He anticipated that it was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 to 15 grams, but when all was said and done, it ended up being somewhere in the 28 gram range. So much more than he anticipated, but he also said, given the fact that I was super lean, that the procedure was very, very easy, and it was probably one of the easiest gynecomastia surgeries that he had done himself, which was amazing. Now, with every gynecomastia surgery, the surgeon does send off the tissue once it's removed for breast cancer screening. They send that off right away, and you get the results within 12 to 16 days, which fortunately in my case did not come back as cancerous, thank God. But yeah, they do send that off just to ensure that there isn't any type of breast cancer, even though it's very rare among men. So here we are. Surgery's all done. Only took about 20 minutes. Super happy with the results so far. No pain. Just gonna chill out in 2 weeks, hopefully start to get back to the gym. So we're on the road to recovery now. Really, really happy. And looked kind of gross once I saw the actual gland itself once it was removed. Once the 8-minute procedure was all done, and all in all, in total, it took about 20 minutes. I was able to drive myself home. I didn't have to take many pain medications whatsoever. The day of the surgery, he recommended getting some Tylenol extra strength and just taking 2 of those over the course of 12 hours until I went to sleep. I believe I took 2 over the course of the next day. And after that, there really wasn't much pain. It was just very, very tight. And I could feel like just the chest itself was tight, trying to recover and seal up the wound.
Good morning, guys. This is day 1 after surgery. You can see it's all taped up. There's a little bit of fluid up there. But outside of that, things are pretty good. There's a bit of blood, if you can see it there.
Initially, my nipple was covered with the medical tape, which basically was an extra enforcement for the sutures, making sure that they weren't getting stretched out and torn. The surgeon did recommend that I leave those on there until they basically fell off naturally in the shower, which happened on day 12, which was when I got my first initial look at how the surgery went itself.
Overall, it's kind of painful today. I'm not gonna do too much, but yeah, just rest and recover and see how long it takes me. But so far so good. On to the next day. We'll just chill again. So this is day 2 recovery. A little bit of fluid there, but all in all, pretty good, pretty smooth recovery so far, so no complaints there. A little bit of blood, but not bad at all. Coming along nicely, so let's hopefully get these stitches out next weekend. We'll see how she is. So here we are, 12 days post-surgery, and it's feeling pretty good and healed really quite well, which I'm super excited about. Not being in the gym in almost 12 days is super weird, but it's healing pretty well. If you see a bit of a scar there, but
You'll see in this image here, there is a bit of a crustation of blood on the lower half of my nipple, just a small 1/2 inch where that incision actually was. As it started to heal, you can see that there's a bit of a fluid retention there. I had to basically wait for that swelling to go down before we could start breaking up the scar tissue. The main part of the recovery, aside from not moving and stretching my chest, was once the fluid had drained from my chest, was the actual breaking up of the scar tissue for the wound itself on the lower half of my nipple. So which basically involved firmly massaging my nipple, as weird as that sounds, for 5 minutes 3 times a day, and it was pretty painful, but the more that you would break that up, the better recovery and results you would see. So as painful and as shitty as it was, 3 times a day I was massaging my nipple to break up that scar tissue.
overall, super happy with the result. Can't wait to get back to it.
I will keep you updated as my recovery progresses. Comment below if you have had gyno surgery before, and let me know what your experience was like. Thanks again for following along, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.